Welcome to Season 3 of the Fearless Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Chang, founder of Evolve Consulting Co. and Dabble, where we help businesses hire and build teams that actually work in real life, especially for working parents, unapologetically. This podcast isn't just about business. It's about the people behind it, the raw stories, the hard-earned lessons, and the hottest myths they're here to debunk. This season, we're getting real about growth, how founders built teams, scaled smart, navigated burnout, high-pressure decisions, and ultimately how they created a life rooted in purpose and abundance. Whether you're here to build something or just here for real conversations, you're in the right place. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. On this special Father's Day episode, I found the ultimate dad. Ooh. Get ready because this list is long. Chris Carter is a Burlington entrepreneur, a proud husband and a father of 2 beautiful daughters, a relentless community builder who believes that leadership starts by showing up. As the co-founder of Burlington Dads, Chris helped grow a small local dad community into a 7,000 plus member non-for-profit brotherhood that has raised over $1 million for families, charities, and grassroots community initiatives with 0% payroll and 100% community impact. He's also the co-host of Shit My Dad Taught Me, a fatherhood leadership podcast reaching 2.5 million monthly views, where honest conversations with dad, leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and changemakers explore what it really means to lead at home, in business, and in life. For more than 25 years, Chris has been building businesses, mentoring leaders, and serving his community. From leadership roles to hands-on acts of service like snow clearing, food drives, blood donations, homelessness awareness, and helping families quietly where they need it most. As if Chris isn't busy enough, he is currently running for Burlington City Council, bringing the same philosophy that he's guided with his life and work. Show up, support others, and always find a way. Welcome, Chris, to the show.
What an intro.
I usually like a good, strong intro.
Strong intro. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And, first thing I always say is any of those accolades don't happen on your own. And I think any, reasonable entrepreneur would quickly give credit to their team because I've been blessed to have that. Certainly on the Burlington Dads side and business partners I've had and my wife and, it's a team sport. But yeah, it's been blessed to do all that.
And I truly believe that too. Everything happens in a community. I grew up in a very community, village-oriented setting. And it really does take the help of everyone, but it does take a visionary too, right? And so I was kind of like creeping you through LinkedIn, seeing all the achievements that you've done. And let's start with your professional life because you are a serial entrepreneur, let's face it, right? So tell me about that.
Yeah, so been blessed to do it. I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur real early on because because it wasn't just like, I can remember a time where I had a paper route and that was great, right? First, honest job and some responsibility and it was awesome. But like right away, I was looking for ways to make more out of that. Right. It wasn't just that. It was, could I come up, like back then it was the Burlington Post and we had like tip collection and things like that where you'd go around and you'd ask the people that you've delivered to consider a gratuity. I got really good at that because I'm like, well, wait, there's money to be made here. Yeah. Like, let's do a good job. Let's make sure that people know. So like, I can remember even back then is I would go the week before I had to go collecting. I would put a little handwritten insert in the paper saying, hey, it's Chris, just giving you a heads up. Next week, we're going to be coming around asking for gratuities. If I'm doing a good job, I'd love to be rewarded for that. But like, that's it, right? So now you're setting the stage for, potential success. So it wasn't just the job as a paper route. It was how can I, maximize the opportunity? And that had been a philosophy of mine throughout my career is like, it's fun. Like, how do you get more juice out of the lemon? Like, what are the things you can do to make some impact? And then, early on in my career, I got into marketing almost right away. And in that time, it was We were building websites. We were doing advertising. Search engine optimization was just kind of on the cusp of everybody's horizon. Because of that, I got to have a lot of conversations with businesses. So I got to understand what, some of the frustrations were, who was doing well, how were they doing it. And then, I started to build my network, which, you know firsthand the value of building a strong network. And that has served me as life's moved forward. And then from a professional standpoint, there's been some successes, there's been some failures. I've had highs and lows. And throughout my entire career, one of my secrets, which, we talk about it on the podcast, is seek mentorship. Like you want to accelerate your successes and accelerate your failures, make them come and go faster. Get yourself a mentor.
Yeah.
And most people are. And I've been so lucky in my life to have, there's 3 that I could tell you about that really invested time and energy, and we just created a great relationship. So again, what that enabled me to do is, okay, I'm seeing these things, I'm on this marketing thing, and then it was just kind of pivot to here, and then, what about this? And one of my mentors, Peter, who was a global executive for McDonald's, he was getting out of his corporate career and he was going into consulting. And right at that time, a mutual friend kind of introduced us. You can imagine at McDonald's, like how many, not only EA, but
lots of layers.
Creative teams. He'd have, agencies, he'd have all of that. And he was going into consulting. So he was looking for either an agency or somebody that could help him with PowerPoints. And he needs a business card. And, he better get a website. So I saw the opportunity to go, well, I'm your guy, like all of the above.
Yeah.
And I can remember, because I was young back then too, even on some of the stuff he was asking for in some of the conversations, my answer would be, so I can't do that today.
Yeah.
But give me a minute. And I'd go home and I'd watch YouTube and I'd figure out how to do the thing that he needed me to do.
Oh my God.
So I just kept coming back with like, hey, look, I want this, man. Like, and I'm really willing to work for it. I want to hustle. Like, how do I add value to you so that you're going to want to add value to me? That relationship got me in boardrooms. It got me into, auditoriums filled with hundreds of people. We were doing these PowerPoints. We were, it was all these things where, again, it accelerated my learnings and it accelerated my network. And then all of a sudden I had opportunity. But like the takeaway there, if you have any young listeners or people looking to advance their careers, is like, go add value and go seek out a mentor, and people will do it. Like
you're right.
Especially the great ones.
Yes.
Which is the crazy thing, because you'd think, oh no, that person's great.
Yeah.
They've got it all figured out and success, and they don't need me. Usually they're the hustlers that really want to go find the young hustlers and
want to give back
and create a team, right? So like just find that opportunity, and then like don't go let them down. Like if you don't know how to do something, say you don't know how to do something, but also look for the opportunity.
Be resourceful.
And even now, look, like, so when I'm telling this story about, adding value for Peter, like I was dependent on the internet back then, which was early YouTube.
Yeah.
So like you had to know how to go find answers. Like you had to go down the rabbit hole and you had to say, okay, this and okay, perfect, it's here. We have AI now. Like every single person out there, like, spoiler alert, knowledge is now accessible to everyone.
Very accessible.
So there's the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And, a real scenario that we talk about all the time is you've got this generation of business leaders that are certainly starting to adopt AI, but they have a lot of questions around AI.
Yeah.
And the more you can add value, again, what a great opportunity to create a mentorship.
Yeah. I would have thought with your entrepreneurial background, are your parents entrepreneurs?
No. No, Dad was lifelong. Most of his career was in real estate, and then he pivoted into automotive.
And now your business is AI focused, right? It's helping drive AI growth, AI implementation into companies. And so like that is such a competitive market nowadays. So how and why are you deciding to dive into this space?
Yeah, simply so go back to when I was starting to get into the marketing. What was really fascinating about that back then was the tech. Like I can remember the original Adobe Creative Suite, like CS1, and I was, wanting to know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator. And then as it went on, it was InDesign and it was, all these other great programs. I was always fascinated in the tech, and being the guy that knew how to run the software, that was a huge advantage because I didn't have to go hire for that or outsource this, or we could be really nimble and move. The AI is much like that.
Right.
I'm fascinated in the tech.
Yeah.
And I started layering in these things early on and starting to educate myself early on. So just naturally, because of my network, we were having great conversations with other business owners saying, so what are you doing with AI, or how do I? And then that just kind of led into this, this implemented.io, which is essentially very boutique. But what we do well is we will sit with a business and understand their business.
Right.
Because my eyes are coming at it as somebody who has run businesses. I'm not necessarily just the guy who has the white label or the custom AI solution.
Yeah.
It's more about, okay, holistically, how is your business operating?
Yeah.
We do a tech stack review. We do operations reviews. We do interviews with key stakeholders. We create systems and process maps.
Yes.
And then often what happens there is we can find shortfalls in any one of those without a single piece of technology. It's things they've already bought
because
and they're
of experience.
using. Well, and you've got, what also happens is sometimes things get siloed.
Yeah.
You've got, maybe an employee or a team over here maximizing an existing piece of software, and they've got these wonderful workflows and they've got it all figured out. But over here, they're still using, version 1, or they're not really thinking about what's possible out of some of these SaaS systems that these companies are already paying for. From there, once you maximize existing tech stack, then you start to look at, okay, how do we get things out of silos? Like, how can we get information from source A into source B and vice versa? So mapping those, creating, we do a lot of stuff just with, simple webhook and API and even, things like Zapier, just to get things kind of talking to each other and get that layer of automation in. And then from there, then you should look at AI.
Right.
Because now, okay, you've got
clean
stable
it up
systems,
first.
It's clean, it's tidy, and then through that process, you can really see where, okay, I know how I can implement AI. And some of them are obvious, like some of them are inbox management and reception type tools and the ones that you could kind of go and buy off the shelf from a variety of AI software solutions right now. But it's implementing them and getting them to work together and then getting the training piece in that as well too. Because that's a gap. If you buy something off the shelf, there's very little often on-site, handhold, get everybody up to speed. Like that's a big part of what we do because you don't want to buy something shiny and let it sit and
then
get
just
dusty.
let it sit there. Yeah, it happens all the time.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, that's what it means to be fully implemented, which is, of course, where we got the name for the business. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's been fun. And then, all of that is just, again, curiosity. I love figuring out how things work and it's a cool time to be trying to figure out how things work.
It is a very exciting time. It's like a little bit of a wild, wild west. Everyone's using it in their business. And it's just about how to navigate it in the future, right? So let's talk about Burlington Dads. This is the main topic I really want to talk about because I am so fascinated with how you and your team built and grew Burlington Dads. How did it all start?
And again, team is the right word.
Right.
We had a lot of great guys early on that came together and said, okay, let's do something. And what that something was back then was a Facebook group.
Yeah.
And it was a small community group that started, just a forum. And it was originally called Burlington Daddies, that forum at some point. We had to change the word. But that was the nucleus. And it was really humble. It was like, hey, man, I need a tool. Does anybody have this tool?
Yeah.
And then another guy would put his hand up and say, yeah, no, I got it. And, tool gets lent, job gets done.
Yeah.
And then it was, hey, do we know a good plumber? Do we know a good electrician? And then that, became more and more. And then it was, talking about, hey, this guy did a bad parking job at the mall. And then it was, hey, little commentaries on community and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was very much a community group. And then a couple years into it, we kind of came together and we started to formalize and we said, hey, there's some momentum here. And, you got all these guys that clearly love their city, clearly love being a dad. That is the common thread here. So let's be dads together. How do we create this village for our kiddos where we're going to be proud and we can affect change? And so we had a founding fathers event, cute name, right?
Yeah.
And we basically just asked guys to make donations. And in return, we gave them this nice little gold card, which we had previously gone to local businesses and said, hey, if one of our members comes in, would you do him a kindness? Would you give him whatever it was, give him a hat, give him 5% off, whatever it was. But we had so many people be like, I love it. Let's do it. So you got this little gold card. You got these limited edition hats. And I think we asked every guy to pledge at least $100. So for $100, you get a membership card, you get a hat. And we held a pretty fun event. And then overwhelming response to that. And then we launched a website on the exact same day.
Yeah.
We had got it ready in the background and been like, guys, we're going to do a directory so we can keep track of all these great businesses. We're going to do events. So we're going to start telling people where we are, what we're doing. We're going to communicate better. We're going to create an email list. Like we had this vision for let's actually do this thing. And like it just, it took off from that point.
Wow. What year did it originally start? Like when...
So it's almost 13 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I remember because at that time I was living in Oakville and there's so many mom groups. There's like, mom groups in every single city that you live in. And I just remember the Burlington Dads group was like always just like popping up. Right. Yeah. And I was like, at my husband, and there's a dad group in every city too. But then the Burlington Dads were particularly more noisy than the other groups, right? And so I'm like, honey, I think you should join this group. I think they do really great things, like, because there was something that was just a little bit different than any of the other groups, right? So what was it?
Yeah, do we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, we had a rule on ours where we basically early on said, all dads are welcome.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Period. And we enforced it.
Yeah.
Like if you were being an asshole and like, somebody's going to say, well, what does that mean? Okay. Yeah. If you're being mean, if you're being homophobic, if you're being sexist, if you're being just shitty, that's being an asshole. Don't do that. So we enforced it. And like we would give a guy a timeout and just say, hey, like little slap on the wrist. Like,
but let them back.
For sure.
Okay.
And they could always come back. And it was like second chance, third chance. There's some guys in the group that are on their 27th chance right now. But we always look for like, give them an opportunity to do it. And like, here's the reality of groups like this. The internet is a big place.
Yes.
Facebook is a big place. Mm-hmm. If you need to go and blow off some steam, you want to voice an opinion on something, you want to go off the rails, lots of places to do that, not here.
Right.
And that basically, it kind of defined what the playground was. And the guys that respected that ended up creating something awesome. Like we have businesses, and I'm super proud of this. We have businesses in the group that don't spend any money on marketing.
Yeah.
They donate to their community through us because they get so much business referral because they are a 5-star provider and they're as honest and as reputable as the day is long. But they know that within the group, because they're getting this source of referrals, it's the best marketing possible. Right. So like imagine that if you're a business and you had a marketing budget, even a small marketing budget, and you're able to say, actually, the community group is where I get the most source of my business. So I'm just going to give it to them and they're going to go give it to the guys in the community.
Smart.
So like it created this ecosystem and that was a big step forward for us. And along the way, I mentioned events. Yeah. Like we started doing these really meaningful events that, started small, like our we did a golf tournament and then we did a toy drive and then we did a barbecue and then we had something we called Festive Fathers, which was like our Christmas event. And we had, all these urgent need events, a tragedy happens or there's a family in need and we would just like do as much as we could. Yeah. And we'd always have somebody put their hand up and say, I'll lead that one. Mm-hmm. I'll be the guy and perfect. So we had these like, little committees and obviously we still at the leadership top of things, we're still very tight. Like there's, today there's about 6 people that run the group and represent those 7,000 plus active members. Wow. But because of that control and because we were all working in the same direction, which is why it took off. And the reason it is I'll say the brand it is today, again, that's the marketing guy in me, but the reason the reputation is there today is just because we've got the resume and we've got the results and we've got like literally hundreds of families that we have actually given money to go do the thing. And some of these are small asks. Like it's a guy who's about to miss rent for the 3rd time, right? Or it's a family that needs a wheelchair, or it's, grassroots type things. We've always remained nimble enough to do that and be able to respond. Mm-hmm. And because we're so nimble, we can get the whole group behind it. Like,
right. And you have big, like, and I've seen it in action, like at the last charity event that we met at together. I saw it in action. Dare to Be Youth, right? When we did it at shout out Shannon Tobin, right? Where we met, and all of a sudden, like, all these dads showed up, and they were like, "Hi, I'm here to help move chairs." And I'm like, where are these angels? I literally said to the dads, I'm like, where did these angels just come from? Just out of the blue. And then after they were done, they were like, "See you later." And that was it.
Yep. So here's the cool thing about that. What's been is like the socioeconomics of the group is all over the place, because like people hear Burlington and they think affluent, and for sure that's a part of Burlington, but like Burlington runs the gambit. Like there's, we've got families in need, and we've got very high-end affluence, and everybody's represented in the group.
Right.
Because of that, we put up all of the opportunities. Yep, for sure. We ask for corporate donations, and yep, for sure, you can write a check and help a family. But there's also this opportunity to just volunteer.
Yeah.
And there's so many guys in our communities that as long as the ask is there, they show up.
It's so true.
But you just need to have refine the ask, tell the guys, here's who it's for, here's when it is, here's what's expected, and then just make sure that they know and that it's on their radar.
Yeah.
And it blows me away. We have guys that have put in I don't want to name drop too many on here, but I know guys that have volunteered hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
And have never, other than a handshake and maybe they get a cup of coffee and whatever, they just do it because it has to get done.
Right.
We joke in the group, we have this logo that we did up in the early days, which is the bat symbol, except it's like the Burlington Dads logo. Yeah. So we'll just put the bat signal up and say hey, this is an urgent need. Do we have 5 guys with pickup trucks that can go and whatever? And
they just show up. Wow. Yeah. And that's special too, because a lot of the groups, they tend to veer towards a certain socioeconomical group, right? So I'm a part of the mom groups across the different cities because of my business, but also I'm a part of Moms Helping Moms Hamilton, right? So it's you have moms on there that need things and so how do you kind of control who gets what? Because I'm sure if it's a group that has a lot of abundance, how do you control who gets the things?
Yep, for sure. Lots of due diligence is the answer to that, because there is an overwhelming amount of need, and just as soon as you think you've got it sorted out, somebody else is in need, and that has been a moving target for us. So basically it goes like this. Are they a Burlington dad? Is there some direct connection to the group? That's the first question we always ask ourselves. Because again, there are lots of groups out there and there are lots of opportunities for help. So we just like to try and keep it as hyper local as possible, right? So are they a Burlington dad is number one. Number two is do we know somebody, or do we know somebody who knows somebody, and can they help us validate this need?
Right.
Because the unfortunate part of it is we do get a lot of people that will ask, but they're not truly in need. And that's a big one where we have to do, our due diligence on it. I'm sure we don't get it right every time, but we really try to make sure that the story checks out. Because we know as soon as you put that bat signal up, you got some good men in there that are going to show up, right? Yeah. So we try and steward that and try and make sure that we can contain some consistency on that. And then the third thing is we go face to face.
Yeah.
It's not just an email or a blind ask. It's one of us at the admin level or moderation level is going to go and validate the opportunity. And then from there, we just, if we can help, we will.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then when did it become a nonprofit? Because then you guys really took this to the next level.
Yeah, totally. We actually, it was because we were taking in so much money. We're so blessed to have legal counsel and accountants who give us their time. Because a big thing for us is
Burlington Dads.
We just try and keep our overhead as ridiculously low as possible.
Yeah.
But they were, seeing what was happening, and they said, hey, this is you guys are doing big things. You should think about strategically how to do it. So ultimately the advice we got was let's register as a not-for-profit. Let's not go for charity status, because we want to remain nimble enough that we can respond. Because you'll know if you've ever opened a charity, there are giving guidelines. There are things that you have to do much differently to maintain governance, and although we were up for that task, the work that we do that we know is such an urgent need in Burlington, to be a not-for-profit was the better decision. So that was about 5 years ago now. And since that has happened, we've just continued to receive corporate support, because now we are a registered not-for-profit.
Right.
We've also enabled us to do more events. Right now, thanks to our leadership team, the toy drive that we do is the largest in Halton by a long shot.
Yeah.
So that, again, had we not had the structure and been able to go to those corporations and say, here's who we are, here's what we do, it was a big credibility piece for us. So we're really proud of that. And it gives us more, it's the next evolution.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think that's so smart because at the end of it, you still want to keep the core values of staying really, close to the ground, pulse on the community and really being able to help those that are in need. Right. And so in order to do that, how many people are on the leadership team? Like, this is like, when did this become a whole corporate org on its own?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So 6 right now that are at the top. We've also got some great moderators in the group, but that's a small number. It's 2 or 3 on any given day. They're there to clean it up and make sure that everything stays on board. Yeah. Enforce that don't be an asshole philosophy and keep things moving. And then we kind of break out into like committees. So most of the groups will have one of those administrators directly involved, plus somebody to, take the lead or somebody to lead that initiative. That's kind of enabled that org chart to kind of form naturally. Yeah. And it's working. So we're just going to stay with that level of leadership.
And everyone is volunteer based.
Everyone
is everyone just contributes their time, knowledge, muscle, paychecks, everything, right?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, we've none of us, myself included, have ever made $1, not a dollar. Yeah. What we have made is incredible relationships, that network piece that we were talking about. Yeah. For me, too, to be able to actually go and present the check, because it isn't just going to, a bank account. You're actually going to meet the people. You're going to see, where it's being spent. And, we've been welcomed by so many great charities in our city because they know that we're just there to do the work or we're just there to drop the check off. So, like, they open their doors and like, you want to talk about filling your bucket, like go see where the urgent need is and hang out with those folks, and it puts things into perspective.
I bet it does, right? What's like the most heartwarming? Like what's one that just really tugged on that heartstring?
Yeah, there's a couple. One of our early events that we were lucky enough to be a part of was Baby Tessa. And Baby Tessa was friends of ours who unfortunately lost their child when she was very young. And in her memory, they took the lead on this, wanted to do Tutus for Tessa, which was a walk fundraiser. And the proceeds were going to sick kids, where Tessa received most of her care on the medical side. And we just got involved. So, I mean, there's photos of a bunch of us walking in pink tutus. And, I was fortunate enough to have a business at the time that was able to contribute as well, too. And we helped the family achieve their fundraising goal within a couple months. So she's got her name on the wall at Sick Kids permanently now. Yeah. We're really, really proud of that. And that one was just a tough one because I knew and liked them so much, and it was just so real and it was happening, and I got to kind of see all the pieces come together. So that one always sticks out. Some of the little ones too, and they sometimes turn into not so little, like the toy drive. Yeah. The toy drive right now, what's so cool about that is if you get involved, and last year it was for $1,000. So we were going to companies and we were saying, if you buy $1,000 worth, like pledge $1,000 worth of toys, we're going to let you spend it. Yeah. So we partnered with Toys R Us. We closed the entire store, and that representative from the business could come in with their family, and they got a shopping cart. Wow. And the kids were able to pick out the toys. So for me, with my daughters, it was walking around going like, what would you want? Like, imagine you're an 8-year-old and you have nothing or very little. What would you want for Christmas? Yeah. So like, I remember watching my kids, like, it wasn't just like, it wasn't theory anymore. It was them saying, I am buying this for a kid that I'm probably never going to meet, who might not have Christmas without this. Yeah. And it was just to watch it through their eyes will always stand out. And then like seeing the lines of shopping carts going out. Wow. And, we had volunteers that were running the moving trucks, and then we went over to Salvation Army, and like, it's just such a cool thing to be a part of. And that was one too, where we got dozens of people involved, and like the dads showed up huge. We might have been 100 dads there. Like it's such a cool, like hands-on. And we do that one every year. And then like, the other thing is it's the small ones too. Like the small ones are somebody who is facing something that in the moment seems insurmountable, and it seems life-shattering, and sometimes it is life-altering for sure, but they don't realize that like there is a group like ours. Like, and the stories are sometimes small ones. Like, we've done walkers and wheelchairs and, things for home medical care.
Yeah,
and
but
like
that people really need,
that
right?
they need.
Yeah.
And again, like we are in my opinion, the best city in the world. However, like it's not perfect. Like there are shortfalls when it comes to how people can receive support and what they're enabled, right? So we kind of fill that gap of like the urgent need piece when like, dad is on the way home from the hospital, and if he doesn't have this medical device, like he's not going to be comfortable, or he has to go back into care, right? And then, we can pulse up and within a day fix a problem like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's only a few $100 or a couple $1,000, but it's that plus the manpower to get the job done.
Incredible.
Solves it, right? And
totally the bat signal. There's something, the bat signal. That's such a good like visual of what it is that the group represents, right? Now you have 2 young daughters, right? How do they perceive what you do?
So with my girls from day one, I was given great advice, and I share this on our dad podcast all the time. Take them with you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just take them with you. So much of parenting is showing up. So I've been fortunate enough, and my wife played along too, that like I would just take them with me. So like I have pictures of them being babies at Nelson Youth Centers.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of them as babies coming with me to go do a 5K or a half marathon or like all these great things that we were a part of. So like they grew up with it.
Yeah.
So my hope is, and I'm seeing it from them already, is they've got that sense of community, that empathy, that kindness, for sure. Because like, kids are watching, and they know that like that is filling my bucket. Like they can see that, wow, dad's really happy, and like he's got all of his buddies around, and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and like
and this is the true definition of like community and village and helping each other out, right?
Totally. Yeah, and they've got uncles that are not their biological uncles, like because of this group that we've formed, and the community that we've formed, and it's such a fun thing. And like I hope as they grow up too, they'll, and I we talk about this on the podcast obviously too, but like I want them to follow their purpose as well too.
Yes.
This really works for me. I love like acts of service, acts of community, being involved, networking. I'm a very social guy. Like all of this works for me, but I want them to find theirs too.
Yeah.
I just want them to know that this is a cool way to live. Like this, your dad loves this.
I feel like you're like a male version of me. For a lot of the times I'm just seeing this, and it's true. Like I always teach my daughter that we live it like the most important thing is that we have to be in service of other people, right? So even if it's big community, small acts or whatnot, they live a very privileged life, right? They go on all the vacations, they get all the gifts for Christmas and things like that. But how is it that you can give back to your community is something that I want her to critically think about, right? So let's take it back to baby Chris. What were you like as a child where impact, like making true impact, is such an important part of who you are? Yeah,
so I grew up, best childhood ever, amazing mom, amazing dad. I have twin sisters who are younger than me, who we remain extremely close. Like one of my favorite flexes is we figured out a way to be within walking distance to everybody's house.
Still. Today.
So both my sisters, my twin sisters now both have 2 kids each. They're both married. We have Family Friday at my house, which is, the pool is open. You don't need an invite. Show up and the barbecue's on kind of thing.
Amazing.
So I grew up with that though, right? Like that was a pace that my parents set. So I'm quick to say that because I do know that I had privilege. Like much like you said with your kids, I had that as part of my journey. But I had, especially through the high school years and then my early 20s, mental health became a focus for me because I had my things that I was going through. I had friends that were going through it. I lost friends, and I had the opportunity to go and volunteer at a youth center. That was eye-opening to me. Kind of all of that came together as me saying, right, like there's a different side to this that I didn't grow up in, where there are these realities for a lot of people. And I instantly was drawn to it. I had the opportunity to volunteer. That then turned into a position on the board. Fast forward 10 years later, that turned into me being chairman of the board. And through that, we grew, programs, we grew outreach. We had all of these successes where I had, these moments where I'm like, this feels really good. Like this feels like I'm supposed to be this guy because, I'm a bigger guy, a louder guy, a smart guy, whatever. And like, I like to volunteer my time. And like, so it all just kind of started to click. Burlington Dads came into the mix, 12, 13 years ago. And that was another one where I'm like, okay, this is sense of purpose as well, too.
Yeah.
And all that's kind of percolated into this. So.
And it's kind of just grown organically as you've kind of stayed in that zone and you just keep unfolding it and your energy just kind of keeps pushing towards that, right? So I think it's one of those things where I've always had a very deep calling and needs to also serve and support too. And so but it's not, not everyone tries their best. Everyone kind of does that, but not everyone makes the type of impact, whereas you've created really great energy and just momentum and as you said on your website, it's a movement. It's a movement that kind of gathers and collects all the dads together, and you're creating almost like a culture and a vision of, helping and whatnot. Were there ever times with Burlington Dads where it could have gone south? Like it was like, okay, I don't know if this group is going to work. Like we have to pivot. Like where has it been really tested before?
Yeah. So a couple examples of that. One is, we're going to get this right away because of the work that you do. Everybody has the best of intentions going in. When times get tough on a team, people's true colors come out.
Yeah.
Balancing that team, specifically at a leadership level, is not easy. Yeah. You're going to have people that have different vision. You're going to have people that have different opinion.
Yeah.
And the art is to continue to have dialogue. The art is to continue to have mutual respect.
Yeah.
It's continue to we are all here on behalf of the corporation or on behalf of so you have to think like that, right? The organization is a living, breathing thing. You have to respect it. You have to take care of it. Early on, as it went from community group to what it is today, those changes had to be made.
Yeah.
So we had folks that came in with the best of intention early on, but because of the momentum of the group, they were not an ongoing fit for a leadership position. Right. So we had to transition people into where they were going to succeed. Here, maybe just go back down to the group level.
Yeah.
Participate rather than, at the top level, at the admin level. So moving those people, that's always a moving target. And the leaders that I respect the most do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had one of my mentors early on say, and it's a sports metaphor, but imagine you're a baseball team. You have the best catcher in the league. He never drops a ball, always calls the perfect pitch. Like he's got an eye on the plate, like the best catcher you could imagine.
Yeah.
You're the coach. Would you go put him out in right field?
Okay, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Of course you wouldn't, right? The idea is, if you're a coach, understand that he's the best catcher in the world. So what are the things you can do to keep him focused on that? And what are the things you can do to put other players in position so he doesn't have to worry about that?
Right.
Well, you're going to have the best second baseman, because if he's trying to cut off the runner trying to steal second, you want him to be able to drop the tag on him, right? Perfect. Hire that person.
Yeah.
But keep the catcher where he is and what he's good at.
Yeah. So he can continue to
accelerate. He can continue to accelerate,
lane,
right? Because you're being unfair to him to expect him to do something that isn't, his or her core competency.
Yeah.
So understand who those players are and give them the best chance of success.
Yeah. I talk about this a lot with my clients within staffing, which is, how do you keep people that work for you in their respective zones of genius? And sometimes, this, what happens a lot in organizations is you go and promote the guy who's the top performing person in the organization. But this person doesn't have leadership training, doesn't have, didn't even necessarily want to be a leader, but just kind of was like the natural progression. But then again, you're taking him out of his zone of genius without training, without support, without, a path to get there on how to support other people. They've just been a top performer. So not only are you jeopardizing your sales, but then you're also jeopardizing your team of a culture because you're not putting a leader who's trained or who have been given the skills or the tools or the capacity. Or sometimes, a lot of the times, I'll ask leaders, I'll be like, did they want this position even? Or were they just like, I want more money. So here, let's just grow me. And now I'm going to lead a team. And more times than not, it's just because it was a natural progression, not that they actually wanted it, but it goes to your catcher theory where, they're just kind of put in that position, but they're being taken out of their zone of genius. And so how do you kind of determine where they need to move or whether they need to exit? Because sometimes being a good organization of a leader, you have to know when to cut your losses.
Totally. Well, so I'll go back I'll answer it with a Burlington Dads one just to stay on that line of thought. Like, we have guys in the group where we know they're the right fit for the right bat signal, or we know that they're the one that we can count on. Mm-hmm. Like, you just start to know that about people if you're paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. Like, a good example of that is if a dad puts up his hand and he goes, wow, I bit off too much with this reno. Like, I'm in over my head right now.
Yeah.
But we know guys that are the best possible contractors in town. But then, like, we also know guys that maybe have a minivan and maybe they're strong enough to go pick up flooring and maybe they have enough whatever that they can add value there. So, like, just trying to figure out who those people are and make sure that original poster gets to the services that he needs.
Right.
That's, again, just trying to set everybody up for success, right?
Yeah.
And having the awareness to pay attention to, like, one of the things Peter always used to say is, like, you have to actively listen. And he always used to say that. He goes, like, are you actively listening? Like, are you making notes? Are you trying to figure out who they are? Are you trying to figure out a solution? Like, that's another soft skill that just will accelerate your team's ability to perform if you, as a leader, are listening to what they're saying and then finding those opportunities within that and then give them the tools to go and succeed.
Yeah. And also it's a really hard one. It took me a long time to learn, like, active listening without, like, calculating the plans of what I'm thinking next and how I'm going to answer. Like, just...
Well, that's a good one too. Peter used to say that. He goes, listen for understanding. Don't listen to respond.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Took me a long time, like a
Not
good
easy.
10 years, And so, okay, so you've had really hard conversations. You've built teams. Tell me about building teams, because you've owned organizations before. You've led teams. You've built teams. One of the biggest questions that I get on my podcast is, how do you get from just owning a business for it to then become an empire? You have to delegate and you have to trust people, in order to grow your business. So what was hiring teams like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So probably my most notable business success was a company called Funding Innovation.
Yeah.
Funding Innovation was a social enterprise, still is a social enterprise, although I sold my shares in 2019, that was basically designed to do one thing, and that was to help charities.
Yeah.
So we ran programs, and the programs that everybody knew us for is if you walk into a Canadian Tire and there's an art easel and it's in support of Jumpstart Charities and there's a piece of sports memorabilia, write your name, put it in the box. We took that from a local initiative to operating in 9 provinces.
No way.
And I
totally know what you're talking about.
That was a spaceship. Like it just took off. And it was one of those things where it was about logistics and it was about operations. So we went from, I'll always remember, because on Harvester in Burlington, within 4 years, we had to move 3 times because this office wasn't big enough. And then this needed more logistics because we needed, tailgate shipping. And then we needed up to where it is today was 16,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So we just had this like move. And like when that company was at its peak, I mean, we had dozens of people working for us, and it was, we had tiers. There was a call center. There was an office. We had administration. We had management. We had outsource. We had reps that were in all of these provinces. We had logistics in all of these provinces, warehousing. And like, it was always like, you look at it in the rearview mirror and you're really proud of what it was, but really what it was just, I'm going to swear again, but like, it was just
it's coming.
It was just getting shit done.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it was. It was, okay, problem. What are the solutions? Do it.
Yeah.
And like progress over perfection. Like I tripped a lot on that. And if I could go back, I'd be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, I'd approach a lot of it differently, but like, the ability to get it done is so dependent on just making smart decisions, but then empowering the people to go and do the thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that alone.
Right.
Any of the things I'm talking about that have grown into, even the podcast, like I don't do that alone.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been so blessed to have people that I can trust and that have similar vision and execute and And that was the secret. It was just, how do we get shit done? Like, how can we get it a little closer to done? And if we don't get it done today, well, let's pick it back up tomorrow and then just figure it out. And, that was like the move to the move to the move. And then it was, regional and then provincial and then national. And it was just like, it was always different problems at each tier. But like, by the end of that business, we were working for over 130 charities. And like, we had partnerships with Sick Kids and Make-A-Wish and Children's Miracle Network and all of these great organizations that they entrusted us to go out and represent their brand and do fundraising on their behalf. And we had all these clients. Like, it was big business and still is. They still do amazing things today.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
That's crazy. And so, going through those humps and hurdles and, those obstacles as you're growing a business, I feel like every business owner goes through that, right? But how did you know, like, this is going to grow and you just kind of unfolded with each step, but did you have a vision or did it just kind of grow organically on its own?
Yeah. So I knew I had the benefit of seeing the program, that core program, that easel program locally. Right. So I was watching the metrics and I was able to say like, man, like this works, like people like it. And if I could get even better things on the easel, they really like it. And if I could ever get big brands, big artists, what would that do? Like I knew it was going to be a multiplier. And then I knew that as we started to roll it out, the numbers were coming back in again. And it was like, okay, I'm right here. Like this is a thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like okay, let's take a bigger shot.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I have enough source data that I believe in this. So let's go a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And, I can remember walking into opportunities where I had the moment of like, they're not going to say yes to this.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Who am I? What? They took a meeting. Like, but the thing that we had was we had like this synergy of like the charity has a need to make money.
Right.
Like they have to raise a certain amount of money. There isn't a charity in the world that would go, you know what? We've actually got too much.
Today.
We've got too much money. Keep your check. Like nobody would ever say that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a real need.
Yeah.
And then connect that with the fact that I was already doing charity work. So I knew this need firsthand.
Yeah.
And the need, like the thing that we were so good at addressing and why we got so much momentum is our funding comes over as undesignated.
Right.
That means that charity can use it for its urgent need.
So I know exactly what that's for. Yeah.
So like we had a solution there that our amazing partners needed to go and do the amazing work that they do. And then we had programs that were resonating with the community because much like I said in the Burlington Dads things, people want to help.
Yeah.
Like if you give them a really good reason,
like
really put a bow on it and say, here's what it is, here's how it works, I think you're going to love it. They want to help. So like we had this opportunity to solve this problem. And then it was just about, okay, how do we do it more? And how do we do it on a bigger scale? And like, so it was great. And like, if you're a young entrepreneur listening to this, like the things I want you to hear is like, at no point did I sacrifice the brand or the business to jump too far ahead.
Right.
What I was able to do was test it a little bit. Validate it. Okay, let's go a little bit bigger. Validate that.
Yeah.
Okay, take a step back, look at the numbers, go to people who are smarter than you and say, do you think I have something here? Like I had a mentor where I'm like, here's what the numbers are saying. And like, here's the need here. Here's the need here. Okay, validation.
Yeah.
Bigger, bigger, bigger. And then it just works. And I think on a lot of the startup things too, like when I was doing this, I'm still building websites at night.
Right.
Like I'm still doing things to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Because it just couldn't support me yet.
Yeah.
That didn't mean I didn't want to do it. It didn't mean that I didn't want to jump in with 2 feet blindly. But I had people around me that were smart enough to say, why don't you just take a little bite, prove it, and then the opportunity exists.
Right.
So like move quickly, like you heard me say, like progress over perfection. We're going to get it done today. Don't slow down. It's not
going to be perfect on the first iteration.
But also don't jump blindly. Like just do what you can do to validate your concept and go to your mentor group and peer group and get that validation and then crawl, walk, run.
Yeah. And I bet that was such a full circle moment for you going back to that paper route. Feeling where you're just resourcefully unfolding each step, right? You're like, I got it. This is like what I need to do to get to that next step. And you know what I think too, is that the worst people can say is no. You ask, you throw it out into the world, you validate it, you do all of these things, but at least you just got to keep pushing it forward, right?
Totally.
Tell me about being a dad. How did that change you?
Yeah, so because I had a great dad, I knew I wanted to be a great dad.
Okay.
And I had by osmosis, I was going to be great at being a dad.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to, and I always did too. And, obviously early conversations with my wife, I knew that she wanted to be a mom. So it was just totally on our roadmap. And, waited till we got married. A couple years later, Lucy came along, and the life-changing moment was walking from the hospital to the car.
Oh, yes.
My wife and I looked at each other and we're like,
they gave us a baby.
So they're just going to let us leave with it? Like, we had this moment where I'm like, okay, like the car seat, yeah. I know the bucket thing is snapped in, yeah.
The longest car ride home,
and
right?
And you're driving like you've got, you do, this precious thing in the back where you're like...
They gave you a human at the hospital.
And then you just like, and I say this to Luce all the time, like, I loved her before she was even her. Like, I love the idea of her, but, I was fortunate enough to have an instant connection with her. Like, I can remember the moment where I had her, we were walking up and down laneway in the hospital. Wifey was getting some sleep, and I just had a moment where I told her, I'm like, I got you.
Aww.
And I remember just like locking in and being like, I got you. And I made her that promise now, and she knows I still say it to her today. So it was an easy one for me. I knew I wanted to do it, and it has been the most rewarding. And all of that stuff that you read off is awesome. I'm so glad to be that guy. But if all that goes away and I'm a dad, I'd be a happy dude.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the hardest thing about being a dad is, especially in today's day and age?
So the answer to this is pretty simple. I don't want my kids at this young of an age to see everything that dad has to go through.
Okay. Tell me more.
And I know there's people that say, no, you got to, let them in. You got to share your stress. You got to share your relationship woes. You got to tell them when you're having a bad day. I'm not that guy.
Not me.
I have a responsibility to care for these young ladies and keep them as protected and safe as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you drive in the driveway and you just got off Bluetooth and it was a terrible call and shit is hitting the fan and you have two little girls that want to run and jump on you the second you get in there.
Yeah.
Like, have the discipline to flip the switch, because you have to, in my opinion, you have to show up for your kids and you have to be present.
Why do you think that need is so strong to not, to kind of shield them from the stressors of your life, at least, because it's the reality of life, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're going to go through it. They have to normalize it, know how to process it. So why do you make the choice to do that? So
it's so I'll always take them with me, and they're always going to know, what we're working on, what dad's excited about, who works with dad, like, and they have all that experience, so they know. Yeah. So it's not like a shelter them from the world. The part I like to shelter them from is, if dad had a bad day, that ends with dad. If I just got off the wrong phone call and it's not the kind of energy that I want to bring into the house, I flip a switch.
You know how to park it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's fair.
Just
because it's not their responsibility to.
And they're only going to be kids for so long. Like that world that you're talking about, that's waiting for them.
Oh my!
And I'm not. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But I also know that if I can just raise confident women who are happy to walk into any room, they fear no man, they fear no circumstance, they have all of that self-belief in themselves. That's the tooling to go and then deal with all that stuff.
Yeah. And what do you think, aside from you, what do you think is the most difficult thing for a dad to be a dad in this day and age? Because it's different for men than for women, right? I work in the mom market, so I talk to moms a lot, and I am very, very clear about all the adversities that moms have to go through in this day and age with, working, leaving work, getting pregnant, facing, a pause on their careers or leaving their careers altogether. Mm-hmm. What do you think dads go through nowadays?
Yeah, so we've had on the podcast, like on Shit My Dad Taught Me, we have had some amazing conversations, and we've had conversations with celebrities, athletes, billionaires, like, all these great men who also take a lot of pride in being a dad, which has been super awesome. I think we're at a point right now where being a dad, there's a lot of men out there that are looking for belonging and meaning, and I think being a dad checks all those boxes, and the conversations are happening. Like, if you go online and you're a young man right now, there is going to be a bunch of clickbait out there for you. It's a guy telling you how to get bigger muscles. It's a guy flashing his Bugatti. It's a guy who's over the top, boisterous, hyper alpha. I understand that that's clickbait, and I understand that there is an audience for that. And truthfully, there's a lot of guys that gravitate to that, and not taking anything away to them. However, there is a slightly less hyper version of alpha where we love the women in our life. We know that life gets better when you work as a team. So it isn't just about being a lone wolf. It's about being, a leader within your own right, but understanding that as a leader, you have a responsibility to take care of your people. This is not a one-man show. And then the value that you can bring to your community is something that, I want every, I'll say man, because we're talking about dads, to experience, because that will give you a sense of belonging that you won't get otherwise. And as these conversations continue to happen, and certainly on our podcast, like, we're getting guys reaching out being like, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that, talking about that shitty day and being that guy in the driveway, on the Bluetooth call and making the decision to either end your work day and start your day as a dad, or let it all mush together. Like, you have those options, but you got to build that muscle, and you got to, do it with intention. But those conversations are happening. And what's been cool is, like, when a guy identifies as a dad, as we've seen in the Burlington Dads group as well too, all of a sudden there is a brotherhood that comes with that, because we know that we're raising kids, and I want to make sure that my kid gets along with your kid. I want to make sure that, if anything happened, I'd love the thought that your kid can ask me or come to me and be a part of that, growing up, raising kids. That's a real thing. And that's been ingrained in our DNA forever. Like, we are supposed to be tribal. We are supposed to take care of each other. But it's come to the forefront again, which is super fun to see. But again, like, I love working with the moms. And I think that the more we can do that, well, now we're building, that's a superpower. Like, now we've got...
You and I are going to change the world, Chris.
That's how it goes, though.
Yeah, and I say that all the time, is that, there's a lot of... groups helping moms advance forward, whether it's in career, whether it's in life, whether it's in all of that. And I love the collaboration of all of that, because I can't do it alone. I can't, like, make the big wave, the big tsunami, the big changes unless we do it all together. It has to be a movement, right? So I love what you're doing with it. I honestly think it's one of those things that have given dads a safe place to be, to have that community, to feel safe if there's ever a need, or, do you guys talk about your feelings?
All the time.
Okay, tell me about that, because guys aren't typically known for being really good at talking about their feelings.
So here's what I'm going to say on that. For some guys, that actually does work. Like, I'm not telling a guy, okay, bro, pour a pot of tea. You're going to tell me everything. Like, it's not that. But here's what it is.
But with wine.
we have a beer.
Yeah.
Shout out BD Currency. We basically create a safe space so that you can engage as much or as little as you want. And, like, I had this one guy that said to me, this was on the podcast now, he reached out over DMs and he said, I got to thank you guys, because we had just had a really difficult conversation with a guy that was at one point suicidal. And he talked about how he got out of that and what he did and treatment, his sobriety and all of that. Like, he went deep on the podcast. And the comment that we got from this one guy was, I have never been able to talk about my mental health, and I'm not ready to talk about my mental health, but man, it felt good to listen.
Okay. So sometimes it's not even like output, it's like input too, that people get by normalizing that language around them.
Hearing another guy's going through it.
Yeah.
You know, and we all have, there are similar stressors in our life, and there are similar challenges. And sometimes just hearing somebody open up about that, and even better, open up, but then say, and here's how I move forward. Like that is that momentum. So, like, I started by saying some guys don't want to talk about it. That's cool too.
That's fine,
like, it's not a mandatory thing, but like, I would like to think that we've created spaces, both in Burlington Dads and Shit My Dad Taught Me, to at least have the dialogue and know that, like, again, don't be an asshole. Like, if you want to talk about that, anybody that says, like, something stupid or, like, tries to shut it down or whatever, we're just like, okay, you can do this. Engage, help, or scroll past. Those are your options. Being an asshole to that guy
not an option.
When he's at his lowest is not an option. So you can either choose to engage and help or scroll past. Those options are yours. when you start to create that as the standard, a lot of guys open up.
Okay.
And and again, this isn't just me, this is a team thing. We have saved lives.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you the men that have come forward when they had nowhere to go, and an outpouring of love.
Yeah.
Outpouring. And they turn the corner and they figure it out and they get balance and life moves ahead.
Yeah.
If you don't have the opportunity or create the spaces for that,
yeah,
it goes the other way.
And also, like with men, particularly, if you live in isolation and, it's not, normal to talk about certain things, and that's the only option that they think that they have. So to open up this safe space for them to talk and feel normal, that maybe someone else understands or can support them in what they're going through, that's powerful shit right there.
And what's great is that the conversations have a way of balancing themselves out too, because sometimes it'll be a guy and he'll go in there thinking he's right. And he's thinking, the world is not fair, and my wife does this, and my kids are that, and
there
he'll
some
go
out there.
off for sure. But the group has a way of balancing itself out.
Yeah.
It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Some guys are going to come back and they're going to check you on that. They're going to say okay, that's your point of view, but bro, you just told me you're married and you have kids. You have an obligation here, and you have family. You know how many guys don't have family?
Yeah.
At least there's that, and and they'll check them on the nope, that is not true. Here's why.
Yeah.
So yes, create a safe space, but when you try and just whitewash it and not make it real, the conversations don't happen. You need to have the checks and balances. Like I said, you can either engage or scroll past it.
Right.
If you engage, do it with authenticity. That person is looking for input.
Yeah.
And the podcast is just the next level of that. We're trying to be proactive with those conversations and help as many people as we can.
Do you guys get pretty heated conversations on the Burlington Dads groups? Do people go back and forth and just start hammering at each other on certain things? Or how do dad groups do it versus mom groups? Because it gets pretty intense in mom groups.
So almost every day, the saving grace is we have the don't be an asshole rule. Right. So yes, heated. Yeah. And there are some topics that we just, instantly, as soon as somebody posts it, we're nope.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because he knows, the person who's posting it knows that it's inflammatory and knows that it's aggressive.
They're clickbaiting.
So exactly. It's and again, I'm not censoring anything. Yeah. I love that we can have those conversations. The internet is a big place.
Yes.
There are, like you said, how many groups? How many in social media? And there are so many places to have those inflammatory, vent it out there. Here are my opinion. No problem.
Yeah.
But if it's going to cause shit, if you are being an asshole, we just don't do that.
Yeah.
Not that we're censoring, go do that elsewhere, but it's just not the right place for that.
Right.
Putting those guardrails on the community and just declaring that, we're actually just here to be great dads and we're here to be great community members. And that's what this is about. It's worked for us. And I think that's why it's differentiated it.
Yeah.
And now we do the same thing on the podcast.
And it's zero tolerance. What I like is that it's zero tolerance, but also it's you give them a check first. You slap them on the wrist. You say, hey, if you didn't know you were doing it, you're doing it. So don't do it anymore. And then you let them back in. So I think in a way it kind of makes people better as they are too, right? Yeah.
And it does work 95% of the time. There's 5%, and from being in business, you never get it right every time. It's not possible.
And you can't. It's just not possible.
But what you'll learn is you'll for the 5% that it's just not going to work out. They are mad and they feel some type of way and you're not going to find common ground. Again, the internet's a big place. You are not going to please everybody all of the time.
Yeah.
In anything you're doing. So we just do our best, and our best has resulted in
pretty
amazing
great things.
Results.
Yes.
So and again, there's the lesson for anybody that's trying to build a community is define who you are.
Yeah.
Put some guardrails around that, enforce that.
Yeah.
And then people are either going to come or go.
Yes.
And if you get it right, not only are they going to come to your group, they're also going to stick around. They're going to participate. It's going to create space. It's going to do all those great things, right?
Yeah.
And it works.
So tell me about, lastly, just what's that secret sauce to building great organizations? I do find that successful entrepreneurs just have a different mindset altogether, right? They either have, let's call it grit, let's call it whatever it is. What's your secret sauce to really building great organizations?
Yeah. So at the highest level, it's people. Like
Yeah.
if I had to say that in one word, it's people for sure. What I mean by that is some of the things we covered off, right? It's understanding who those people are, what they're good at, giving them the best chance for success, understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then being like pretty relentless at keeping those guardrails on. Like say, here's who we are, here's what we're doing. Because like people ultimately succeed when there's direction, because direction isn't like we're doing it from A to B. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean is we're at A, here's what A looks like, and we're headed towards B. That doesn't mean there isn't conversations along the way. That isn't somebody saying, hey, actually, I found a way to go to C.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at that. Like, what does going right to C look like? But like, it's direction, right? Peter actually, again, it's a Peter day today. What a great mentor he was. Shout out Peter. He always used to say to me that in business, like in your mind, think of it as you are at the very first start of a long, dark hallway. You don't even know what's at the end of the hallway, but you see a light switch. And so you flip it on, and that light will show you a little bit farther down the hallway. Right. So what do you see? What does it look like directionally, right? It's all those KPIs. It's all those learnings you can have. Okay. Oh, you know what? We moved a little forward. There's another light switch. And then that gets you a little farther. But what you're doing is you can only see what you can see. Yeah. The people that sit down and make 5-year plans and 10-year plans, and they spend all this time writing it and they put it on a shelf and it stays there and it gets dusty. You're not doing yourself any failures.
No.
What's better is like you just deal with what you can deal with today, have a look around, make steps. The 3 and 5 year plans are great. They're aspirational. Yeah. They're required, but that's not to be confused with operations.
Yes.
Those are directional ambitions. Those are goal setting. Those are important KPIs, but then you have to have an eye on what's going on right now.
Yes.
And understand and appreciate your business enough that you know your P&L and you know what's going out and what's coming in, and because you can't possibly predict that 5 years out, even if you could.
You have to pivot sometimes. That's just the reality of business and the market, and like COVID, how that really threw everyone in a monkey wrench. Like you have to pivot.
Have to.
Yeah.
And have the dexterity to do that as you go.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know, and like. So much of what I think I'm doing here, like y'all say on the podcast all the time, like I'm going to be 42 this year.
Me too. Yeah. 84, baby.
Love it.
Holler.
What's today? In 10 days.
No way. You're a Gemini, baby.
So the 21st, I actually just read about this the other day.
Cuspy.
See, I didn't know until like just recently.
We just love this shit, astrology. So you're June 21st?
Yeah. And they asked what time. I was born in the morning at like 6. And they say that sometimes that's the cusp. So maybe you fall on the Gemini side.
It's true. My daughter is a cusp, and a lot of people think she's a Scorpio, but she's actually a Libra.
Okay.
Yeah. And my husband too. Okay. He's like December 21st.
Yeah.
So he's like a winter solstice baby. It's just very confusing.
Yeah.
So
I'm summer solstice baby. 21st of June.
My gosh, you're like, and you are very opposite than my husband. Yeah. So I'm like summer, I'm a summer baby. My birthday's in July, right? So I am like full on sun worshiper, like Leo extreme to the max.
See? There you go. Learn something every day.
Okay, 42 this year.
And 42 this year. Yeah. And, the joke I make is I don't know who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like you've looked at my resume.
Peter.
I want to be, you know what? That would be amazing.
Yes.
I want to be curious. That's what I want to be. I want to try and figure out what we're doing, how I can add more value. Yes. I want to be of service. And I still don't know what the world has in store for me with that. And
are there people that you've looked at and you're like, that's who I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, there's a few for sure. Like I'm always fascinated by by the individuals that figure out kind of the pillars of life. They're happy and they're financially sound and they've got the family piece. Like that to me is like, how did you do that? Like how did you get all the balance there? Those are the ones that I like the most.
Mine are my in-laws.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband's parents are like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I've never really looked at, like I've met lots of people my entire life. I look at them. They're from France. They live in France. And I'm like, this is who I want to be when I grow up.
It's
They're
so great
amazing.
When you can see it too, right? Because then you can, and you can model it.
You can model it, right? And they've modeled it in my husband. My husband's modeling it to my daughter. Like it's a beautiful cycle, right?
Yeah.
what is your core, like, what are the North Star core values that you hold as a person that drives your organization?
Yeah, for sure.
Don't be an asshole, I know is one of them.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. That's a good one.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dickhead to people. Yeah, like, I mean, it depends on who I'm answering the question to. Like, if I'm around my girls, because we talk about this all the time, I always say kindness is a non-negotiable. And that doesn't mean you have to be a pushover, and that doesn't mean you have to be nice to everybody all the time. But like, kindness isn't that. Like, kindness for me is like, can you meet somebody where they're at?
Yeah.
Do you understand that we are all one and the same?
Yeah.
And do you try and, listen for understanding, and do you bring some empathy to it?
Wow. It was like, yes, that's your crescendo.
When it was funding innovation, well, we're a social enterprise, and we have a responsibility to, steward these amazing brands and charities that we have. With the podcast, it's a little bit different. Like the core values there are, we want to create great dads.
Right.
So the way that we do that is we bring on guests and we talk about topics that kind of help with those pillars and start better conversations about being a great dad. So, because that one's an easy one for me, because like core value is I love being a dad.
Yeah.
Like I said, if all that goes away and I get to be a dad, I will be a happy guy. I got approached by several people over the last couple of years just talking about the community work that I do. And they say, hey, because of, the Burlington Dads, you've got this great network of people. You are always at Burlington Chamber events. You're always at ribbon cuttings. You've helped all these people grow their businesses. You've got, all of these great things going on. And you sure do understand the city, because when you're one of the guys running Burlington Dads, hundreds of comments every day. And most of those are about day-to-day life.
Yeah.
What's going on? What are the hot topics? What are we doing well as a city? What are we not doing well as a city? So like I've had that experience for a decade, and then I've led for-profit companies. I've led not-for-profit companies. So my next journey is I'm currently campaigning for Ward 4 City Council, city and municipal in Burlington. So I think that's, if everybody will have me, if everybody will come out and vote, that's my next opportunity to take everything I've done.
Yeah.
And then what could I do if I was a part of our city? And if I could take that onto, the public side, what could I do?
And that's not an easy job, but at least you have the data and the intel to be able to understand what's happening in the city. I say anyone that's a public figure, no matter if you're a public figure of a company, a city, or whatnot, it's not an easy job. It's not. It comes with a lot of opinions, unsolicited opinions, but necessary ones in order for you to drive your city forward. So I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. I feel like, I know. And I feel like though I've got the training for that. And the training came in the way of running 7,000 men through a Facebook group.
Fair enough.
You're going to get some shade. You're going to get some comments. You're going to get all that. And then
Fair
on
enough.
the podcast, it's the same thing too. Like we get and we keep all of our comments up. Like if somebody's got something to say, if they can, whatever, great. Like that is how we get better.
Yep. The more unfiltered, the better.
Yeah,
right?
That is how we get better.
That's what makes it real, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. I think that you are just such a interesting individual. There is no better dad I could have thought of for the podcast on a particular Father's Day episode.
Father's Day. Shout out to all the dads.
That's right. You can find Chris on Instagram, LinkedIn. You have websites that you're a part of. We'll link everything in the show notes underneath. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Such a good chat.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. It truly means a lot. If something in this episode spoke to you, send me a DM on Instagram at Fearless Entrepreneurs, or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Until next time, keep going and stay fearless.